pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the first items on the agenda are public hearings. I'd like to remind board members that our job here is to listen. Folks making comment, please state your name and address for the record. Anyone wishing to make, have a motion to open the public hearing for short-term rental amendment? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Anyone wishing to make a comment, please step forward.
Excuse me, did
Yes.
you mean just on the rental?
Yes, on the short-term rental amendment.
Okay, just
Yeah.
wanted to clarify.
That's okay.
Hey, Yana, you hand me one of those pieces of paper right there? No, the one at the very back.
One of these?
This amendment gives the town the ability to sign a contract with Ulster County to share information. We'll leave the public hearing open a few more minutes.
Yep.
Okay, hearing no one. I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Well, I'm sorry, was that, I think when you opened the meeting, you said specifically on the fill law.
No, on the
The
short-term
general-
rental law,
Short-term rental.
Right.
Short-term, sorry,
Yeah.
short-term.
the
rental.
amendment.
Okay,
Mhm.
sorry.
Okay. All right. Motion to open and continue the public hearing for the draft bill law. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Anyone wishing to speak on the the posting of the draft bill law, please step forward and state your name and address for the record. For those who just came in, this is a public hearing for the enactment of Chapter 94 of the Town Code entitled Fill and Grading Law. If you're interested in making a comment, please step up and state your name and address for the record. Okay, hearing no one, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Okay, public comment period. Folks can step up and make a public comment. Going to encourage the town board to listen. This is the time for the public to share their thoughts and concerns. If the public wishes a response, please leave your contact information or stick around. We may be able to answer it during the meeting. Anyone wishing to make a public comment?
In other words, we're not going to get into a big conversation about
Right.
it right now.
Right,
Yeah.
right. We're happy to listen.
Yeah.
Kristen?
I'll go quickly. So I sent the board, my name's Kristen Shara, and I'm volunteering on the Climate Smart Task Force for the town. And yesterday, I sent an email to the town board members. I had asked for I sent out a request for proposal to do building energy audits of all the town buildings and provide me with a cost to do all the buildings or for the individual buildings. And part of what the timeline on this is that at the beginning of undergoing this Climate Smart Communities program to do these actions and get points, they required us to do an ASHRAE Level 2 study of the buildings in order to get points for it. Well, in December they came out with new guidelines and they lowered it to an ASHRAE Level 1, which is less detailed, but still I think would be a useful report to have for all of our buildings. And also my hope was, and it did kind of get borne out by this RFP, that it would be cheaper to do it. And since we had the grant money from NYSERDA, that we could cover most of the cost of doing all 3 buildings if we went to an ASHRAE Level 1. So I just wanted to, present that, get this idea in front of the board and get your feedback on it. And also I asked, since the levels had changed, if that original building science report that BCS had done, does that qualify as an ASHRAE Level 1? So I asked Kat Carroll at Hudson Valley Regional Council that question. She said she didn't want to give me a ruling directly on that one. She said you should talk to the contractor and find out what their opinion is of that, if it needs it or not. So just to let you know about that. So anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So, questions or comments, please just email me or, call me.
Could you tell us the difference in the different levels?
Well, so the Level 1 and, let's see, the one RFP from Daylight Savings gives a pretty good breakout. If you start with the Level 2, they come in, they tour all the buildings, they interview the people who work in the buildings to find out what it's like, in different conditions at different times of year, what works, what doesn't. They go through a billing history of all the energy bills, the fuel costs, the electric. They look at all the lighting, and they come up with basically an inventory of all of this equipment, and what the status of it is. And then they go through, they actually make a model of each building, a computer model that would show how it reacts at different times of the year with the different seasons, or depending on the temperature of a given day. And weather conditions. And then they also do a detailed analysis of, here's where we think you could save money and do better. And this is how long it would take to pay back. And it's much more a very detailed level.
So each level is more and more intense in what it does.
Yes.
What is the benefits of going deeper into it? Is it?
Well, if we were.
I know for one thing, I guess it would cost more money to go to, because
Mhm.
of course it'd be bigger.
Yeah.
But does it give us more information that is worth that, is what I'm.
Well, so
trying
that's
to-
what I was questioning too. And in fact, when I started this whole process, I called a bunch of vendors who do this to ask their opinions, and so I wanted to build up a list of people. And a lot of the experienced ones said, for most small towns, the ASHRAE Level 2 is overkill. You really don't need all that much. And from our end, it would require us to do a lot of work to get all this information together for them, and spend time with them, and, et cetera, et cetera. And, if we were thinking of like a major building upgrade, then, having that data it might be nice to have. It would be nice to have to you know, show taxpayers this is why we're doing this, or, you know, this is why we want to buy this super, much more efficient, you know, energy, you know, heating system or something like that. Or, you know, we're gonna, so, you know, then it might be worthwhile, but, I mean, that's kind of my take on it. I think it would be good if we level one.
Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you.
Okay. My name is Terry Street. I actually just have a question. Maybe you can answer here, maybe not. Maybe after the meeting, but could someone tell me the zoning rule, laws, regulations for unregistered vehicles on property, housing, personal property? Is there a regulation?
I think that's a question for the code enforcement officer.
Is that Glenn?
Mm-hmm.
I've been dealing with him for an issue and I'm not getting anywhere, so that's why I've come to the meeting.
Okay,
I might be able to help.
Can you come see me, in the office?
Sure.
I'd love to talk with you.
Okay.
Is there anyone else?
Good evening. My name is David Whittick. I reside at 11 Kemble Terrace in the town of Hurley here. I apologize. I guess I misunderstood the purpose of this meeting tonight. I thought it was more of a question and answer forum. So I guess I'm just going to go out and ask if anybody has any comment or update on the project at 11 Kemble Terrace at this point.
I think I called you earlier today. I spoke with the attorney for the town,
Correct.
who was working on that this afternoon. And I expect to have an update from him in the next day or two at the most.
Okay.
And we'll be back in touch with you then.
Okay. But in regard to that, I mean, I'm just wondering for the long term here. I'm just saying it kind of seems to be rolling along here. If I look back at the map that was provided to me when this project initially took place, February of 2014, memory serves me well, that's just over 8 years now. So again, I'm just kind of wondering because I kind of get, I need to speak to this person, I need to speak to this person. I feel I've done my due diligence, as regard to who I need to contact in regard to this, and I feel like I'm getting nowhere. At this point, I've been through multiple supervisors, I've been through multiple town superintendents, and it's kind of getting out of hand. I also understand that there are multiple parties involved here. According to this map, 3 out of the 5 properties have been sold and are now under new ownership, so I understand that's where the new easements, I guess, would come into play. But also it seems that the bulk of this project is falling on my lap, and I don't feel it should be my burden to have to deal with that. Eventually, I feel like it's just going to come to a point where nothing is going to get done. My foundation the integrity of it is probably compromised, and if it falls apart, the burden's going to fall on me. And I don't think that's fair, seeing as how I am a tax-paying citizen. I've lived here for roughly 11 years now, and I just don't feel that I should have to chase this matter anymore. I feel that there are elected officials here that should be taking that upon their position to get things done. So with that being said, I understand that easements, things do take time, but also I have brought this concern up to Mr. Schultes as far as just having possibly my portion of the project done. Majority of the water that runs off of Wayside is funneled through a neighboring property and goes through my yard. I have had meetings with the engineering firm and Mr. Schultes, and we've all looked down. I'm no engineer, but if you look, clear as day, you can see the bottom of the pipe is gone.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to say that majority of all that water and runoff that is coming from another street and the adjoining properties in between Woodland and Wayside being funneled through my property is sitting basically right there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just not quite sure, how much longer this is going to take. I have been extremely patient with this whole process. Unfortunately, I have lost track of the numerous phone calls and correspondence and everything. A FOIL request that I filed a couple years ago was just either ignored or never responded to. I thought that legally, even if there was no information, I should have received a notice in regard to that. So those are my concerns for this evening. If anyone has comment, I would love to hear it. Other than that, I thank you for your time.
Thank you. I wanted to share with the board that
I don't really know what this is.
No, I know. This was just,
Stay here.
this was just raised to my awareness today, and I made a few phone calls. So today I was told by the attorney for the town that he was working on it this afternoon, and it's at the top of his priority list. You know, I've only been in three months, a little bit more than 3 months. So this is the first I'm hearing about it, and I'm expecting that actions will be taken to rectify this as quickly as possible. I did promise you to stay in touch with you. I absolutely will do that. You'll be hearing from me by the end of the week. Okay.
Can I just ask one more question? So is it what exactly are the costs that you're incurring right now as a result of this problem?
As of right now, I mean, I haven't had any sort of damage assessment done, but I can tell you that I have 2 pumps in my basement that are running. I mean, in the winter time and now, you know, especially with the heavy rains that we've had, it's been much more. But I mean, any kind of water sitting or any kind of water that's actually penetrating the foundation, it can't be good. Again, I'm no engineer, I'm no structural engineer, but just basic common sense to me says that it has to be something. So as of right now, I do not have a dollar amount of how much damage has actually occurred. But again, I really don't want to just wait and find out.
Yeah.
If there is a time that I need to sell my property, or I would like to sell my property, and then I find out then and actually see what it is. That's not something I'm looking forward to. So.
No, that's understandable. I think you all know that I'm all about taking action when
Yep.
things are brought to my attention, so
Yep.
that's what I'm doing my best to do.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Whittick.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to make a public comment?
What was the address again?
I have
It's
it.
11 Campbell Terrace.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I couldn't see you.
Oh, yeah, great. Okay, hi, Ann Silverman, West Hurley.
Hi, Ann.
Hi, I just have a question, and I don't expect an answer right now, but where do I go to look for information about what's going on with Cedar East at this point? Is this,
There's no update per se.
so how do I find out where where they've left things? I mean, is it being debated in court? Is it, you know, is
it's
that where
tied-
it is?
It's tied up there, yeah.
Okay.
It's mired in the legal process.
Okay.
Is there anyone else wishing to make a public comment? Okay, motion to close the public comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Everyone received their minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from March?
One, yeah, one, they're on the resolution 2021-40.
2022-40?
No, the last.
It says 2021.
Okay, it was misnumbered.
Well, it must be 20.
It's 22.
Yeah.
Yeah. -40, just a correction beside my name, 0215, and under SS number. And participants in the employer's timekeeping system, the answer to that question is also no. So just those 2 corrections to the minutes.
Thank you, Gregory. Is there a motion to approve the minutes with that change made?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes with that change.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Town clerk's report?
Okay, for the claims and vouchers for the month was, general fund was $33,887.65. The highway fund was $181,246.45. The lighting district, $942.81. The capital accounts, $25,426.64 for a warrant summary total of $241,503.55.
Okay. Is there a motion to accept the town clerk's report? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Everyone received the supervisor's report, monthly update?
I'm gonna start shuffling papers now.
Okay. Is there a motion to accept the supervisor's report?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Would you like to read the first resolution, Peter?
Sure. The first resolution of the evening is resolution to use part of Town of Hurley's recreational budget to fund family summer activities in conjunction with the Hurley Public Library and West Hurley Public Library. Whereas the town board recognizes that the libraries are positioned to offer families educational opportunities during the summer, and whereas the libraries have proposed 2 live events on either side of town, museum passes for 4 museums and 2 buses for a trip to the Mystic Seaport Aquarium for 100 people. Now therefore be resolved that the Town of Hurley Board agree to reimburse the public libraries $6,000 for summer recreation activities to be paid for out of budget line A7310.4 of the general fund.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Second.
Thank you, ladies, for being here.
Thank you guys.
Is there anything you wanna
Yeah,
say?
introduce yourselves.
I'm Kara from the West Hurley Public, I think I'm in front of the camera, West Hurley Public Library.
Well, look at it.
Yeah. And Kristen from the Hurley Library. And we're excited. We haven't been able to, obviously, to do a bus trip. I was on the phone today. It looks like everything, we can put in motion tomorrow. Museum passes, for the first time, we're actually going to be able to offer a system where you can either reserve the pass to be picked up in the library on a certain date, if that's the way the pass is set up, or you can actually go online and print it out. So you can reserve it for 3 or 4 days, print it out, and then go into the museum. So we're really, really excited about that. And then the 2, we have a Jester Gym is going to be on this end of town, and then we're going to have an animal program on the other end of town. And that's in addition to all of our regular summer programs. So we're really, really grateful. We're so excited to be able to offer these this year.
Well, thanks for doing
Yeah, I have to say, being the liaison to you guys is amazing. I
Your
mean,
job.
you guys are super in what you're doing and working with us and helping us with this stuff, Thank you.
Really nice.
It's good to have things for the people and the children in this town.
The libraries are always here for whatever the community needs.
Mhm.
Something to remember.
it. Absolutely. Thanks for what you do. Okay, the next resolution, Gregory?
Yes. This is resolution in support of the Birds and Bees Protection Act, New York S699B, supported by Hoylman et al. And A7429 Englebright. Reads as follows. Whereas the Birds and Bees Protection Act concerns use of neonicotinoids, tinides, Or whereas federal and state water testing has detected neonics in waters across New York State, with 30% of Long Island groundwater samples containing neonics, whereas a recent Cornell University review of over 1,100 peer-reviewed papers on neonics and cost-benefit analysis of neonics against their likely alternatives, this is in the Cornell report, concluded that neonic treatments on corn, soybean, and wheat seeds, which account for roughly 3/4 of all neonics in use in New York agriculture, produce no overall net income benefit to farmers using them, whereas the bill would, 1, prohibit sale and use of neonic-treated corn, soybean, and wheat seeds effective January 1, 2024. 2, prohibit non-agricultural uses of neonics on turf and ornamental plants effective January 1, 2023. And 3, require the New York Department of Environmental Conservation, the DEC, to consider designating other neonics uses as restricted use pesticides in order to protect bees and bird populations. A restricted use pesticide is a pesticide that can be purchased, possessed, or used only by a person with a commercial or purchase permit issued by DEC, and that may be subject to other restrictions on its use as determined by DEC. The bill allows DEC to permit use of neonics to combat invasive species, including but not limited to emerald, ash borer, and hemlock woolly adelgid, and 4, require DEC in collaboration with the Department of Agriculture and Markets at Cornell University to study alternatives to neonics. And whereas the Birds and Bees Protection Act addresses a serious threat to pollinators and ecosystems and safeguards the future of New York's food system by banning high-risk, low to no benefit uses of neonicotinoids, insecticides. Now therefore be it resolved that the town of Hurley does hereby support AS 699B/A7429 banning neonic treated corn, soybean, and wheat and most outdoor non-agricultural uses of neonics, and will provide a copy of this resolution to Governor Kathy Hochul, Basil Segas, the New York State Commissioner of Department of Environmental Conservation, Howard Zucker, the New York State Commissioner of Health, Richard Ball, the New York State Commissioner of the Department of Agriculture, and the New York State Senate and Assembly Environmental Conservation Committee chairs, and our local New York Assembly, Senate, and Assembly representatives, the Honorable Michelle Hinchy and the Honorable Kevin Cahill.
Thanks for braving that.
Wow,
That was
that's the
great.
toughest one I've ever heard.
Can I have a second?
Please, may I have a
That's the
second?
motion. Is there a second? Okay, Mr. Bonds,
It's the bonds.
is there any discussion?
He's the only other one here that understood what that stuff was.
Any discussion?
Yeah, the thing is that what they do here is completely nuts. That they treat these seeds with neonicotinoids for the purpose of only killing insects. In other words, what happens basically, they're treated, and when these seeds grow into, sprout into plants and so forth, they produce their own pesticide against any kind of insect that will harm the plant, which is, I'm kind of against the fact that DEC allows a special permit use of this. They shouldn't be used at all, period. I mean, they use it for all the invasive species that are coming in there, but that's wrong. That should be outlawed completely from that whole thing, because with special use permits, anybody can get that if you just so cause it coming through it. This is just a crazy thing. And then down south, the use of neonicotinoids has created complete bee colony collapse, total. To the point is right now, that the only way you get pollination is if you have bee pollinators bring in their own bees. You know, they're just gone. And this is the same case that happened in China where they don't have bees at all. So now they have people walking around with Q-tips and pollinating plants going through. And this is what's going to happen here eventually. So this is something that I would like to see, in fact, the use by the DEC to be outlawed completely. This should be outlawed completely.
I'd
This-
agree with that.
Yeah, this is outlawed in Europe.
Yes.
And it's amazing. It's outlawed in Europe because of the study done in the US, which is like,
Well, that's deep.
Yeah.
It's America.
So can we
Thanks.
This,
can we adjust it?
no, this resolution is in support of the whole thing.
Right.
Okay.
So we can't change a thing, but
Yeah.
it's, the more municipalities that are supporting it, the more.
well, what we should do basically is,
More
like, for
pressure.
example, yeah, we should take this resolution and present it also to town of Kingston, town of Ulster, everybody, because obviously, if they can use it there, it's gonna come here.
I think it's being.
Yeah.
it's
Hopefully.
Actually, in
Yeah.
reading it, I felt the same thing.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was thinking,
Yeah.
that it's kind of got a loophole in it that,
There's a loophole. There's always a loophole.
So can we conclude this
Yes,
resolution
there's,
and make comments afterwards? We should be able to do that, right?
Comments on what?
So what Mike is saying is that there should be an amendment, an adjustment to this. But we
Well-
can't do this with this resolution,
right.
right?
I
Yeah.
think that,
Do you want to move on this and then
yeah,
do something?
Well, I'd like to move on this thing and then add a resolution to it
Yeah,
as an
Next.
added
I think
addendum.
that's what we should
Yes.
be
Okay.
considering, that an additional resolution to this.
Okay.
All right.
my question is, Mike, if we were to not and bring this to the attention of others in other towns, that there is this, that it's a problem, will we get more, will that help more for
Well,
our ground to
It
basically?
is,
it is being brought to
yeah,
the attention of other
mountain
towns.
keepers
That's how it came
involved
to
and things
us.
like that,
Yes.
so,
Yeah.
there's a motion and a second, we've had some discussion, is everybody ready to vote?
Yep.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? All right. Great. Mr. Bombs, would you read the Justice Court audit and the one after that?
Sure. Okay, this is a resolution, amended resolution 2022-9, whereas the organizational meeting of the town of Hurley on January 4th, 2022 states that court traffic prosecutor to receive $150 per hour, whereas on January 25th, 2022, town board meeting minutes states to retain Kerry Yamashita as special prosecutor for the town of Hurley at the rate of $450 per judicial court session, or $130 per hour, which is less. Therefore, be it resolved to amend the January resolution and to read $150 per hour.
Okay. That's the motion, is there a second?
A second.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And the next one, Mike, should be the Justice Court audit. If you have it,
I'm looking for.
there was a mix-up at the copier, so I'm gonna pass it down to him.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See, I got the easy one.
Yeah.
All right, this is Justice Court audit, first 3 months, 2022. Whereas the Town of Hurley Justice Court has submitted its audit and control records to the Office of the State Controller and has certified those records to the Town Supervisor for the past 3 months for the year 2022 through March 2022. The Hurley Justice has submitted its closed case log for audit to the Hurley Town Board on April 12, 2022. All records are available on scheduled court hours on 24-hour notice to the court for any Hurley Board member to review. Therefore, let it be resolved to accept records as presented.
Okay, that's the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
Pretty straightforward.
Pretty straightforward. Every 3 months we do this. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Great. Okay. Now, would you read the next resolution?
Sure.
Resolution to create a highway complex team. Whereas the town of Hurley Highway Complex is in need of significant upgrades to comply with current standards, and whereas the cost of the upgrades needed was assessed at approximately $2 million, and whereas on December 29th, 2021, a contract was signed with CPL Associates for the siting, design, and construction management of a new highway garage by the former town of Hurley supervisor for the sum of $333,000. And whereas the Hurley Town Board will need to participate in every stage of the project to ensure the interests of the taxpayers and needs of the community are at the forefront of the decision-making process, now, therefore, be it resolved to create a high-performance team to assist the town board in making the best decisions in moving forward with necessary upgrades at the town of Hurley Highway Garage. Be it further resolved to appoint Frank Spinelli, George Jacquemart, Peter Humphreys, Peter Glass, and Dean Osterhout to the team, and to appoint Frank Spinelli and George Jacquemart as co-chairs of the team.
That's the motion. Is there a second?
A second.
Any discussion about this?
Yeah, I have a question. It says here, are we talking about upgrades to the current garage, or are we talking about upgrades to the plans to build another garage? Steve?
We're empowering the team to look at the entire ball of wax and come back with some recommendations.
Are we gonna, and that's gonna follow the CPL recommendations, or?
We'll see what the team has to say about it.
Yeah, the only reason I'm saying though, because I spoke to CPL, it takes about minimum of 2 years, and most of it is paperwork. You know, so whatever is decided with this team and so forth, 2 years, 3 years, you know, it's going to take that long to get the, if we get a new garage put up there.
Well, they are a high-performance team, so presumably they'll move as fast as they can.
Hopefully, yeah.
They'll probably move quicker than we would.
Okay.
Yeah, because they can focus on it. So I think it's a good idea.
Any further discussion?
Has anybody seconded it?
It has been second.
Yeah, I second.
You did?
Yeah.
You did.
Okay.
I mean, it's,
I need to abstain.
All in favor?
I'm on it.
Okay. Peter's abstaining because he's on the team. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Great. Thank you, Donna. Resolution to approve RFP for mold remediation in the town of Hurley Highway Garage per notice of violation and order to comply issued by New York State Department of Labor on April 14th, 2022. Whereas the town supervisor received a notice of violation and order to comply by the New York State Department of Labor's Public Employee Safety and Health Bureau, and whereas the health and safety of town employees are of the utmost importance to the town board and they deserve a sanitary work environment, now therefore be it hereby resolved that the town board hereby approves the draft request for proposals and directs the supervisor to publish the RFP and to report back to the town board on the response to the RFP at the workshop meeting on May 10th, 2022. Is there a second?
Yes, I'll second that.
Okay.
you second.
Is there any discussion?
Is this enough time for you?
It's the quickest we can.
It's the fastest
Yeah.
we can do it?
Mm-hmm.
It's not, I mean, it's pretty fast.
It's pretty fast.
Okay.
Is there any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Judy, if we can get this in the RFP in the paper tomorrow, it needs
Probably
to,
will be in Thursday's paper.
okay, well, as quickly as possible.
Because it's.
We have a short time frame
Set by May 10th,
before we
so-
start running up fines, so I'd like to avoid that.
When do we start running up fines?
June 1st.
June 1st.
Okay. Next up, Gregory.
Yes. What are we looking at here?
Resolution to prepare FEAF and circulate the draft law.
The one with the hard words in it.
Yep. What's wrong with you, man? Come on.
Wait, this one's in French.
Resolution to prepare the FEAF, circulate draft law and FEAF, and set public hearing concerning keeping of chickens and bees. Whereas a draft local law to amend Chapter 210 to permit the keeping of chickens and bees has been presented to the town board by Councilperson Simpson on behalf of the zoning task force. And whereas the proposed local law is intended to improve the health and safety of our community by regulating the keeping of chickens and bees in residential zoning districts, and whereas the Zoning Board of Appeals has requested that the regulation of chickens and bees in residential districts be clarified, now therefore the town board hereby resolves as follows. The supervisor is authorized to forward the proposed local law to the town's planner, Nelson, Pope, and Voorhees, for review and preparation of a full environmental assessment form. 2, upon receipt of the FEAF from NPV, the supervisor is authorized to review the EAF and to sign Part 1 if she determines it to be accurate. 3, the town clerk is directed to circulate the draft local law together with the signed FEAF Part 1 and a copy of this resolution to the town building department, the town conservation advisory council, the town planning board, and the Ulster County Planning Board for report and recommendation to the town board within 30 days. 4, the town board hereby declares itself lead agency for the purposes of environmental review with respect to the proposed local law in accordance with Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law and the regulations promulgated thereunder at 6 NYCRR 617, collectively SEQRA, and determines that the proposed action meets the criteria of a Type 1 action under SEQRA. 5, sets a public hearing on the draft local law for May 24th, 2022 at 7 p.m. And 6, directs the town clerk to post notice of the public hearing in the official newspaper, to post notice of the public hearing, the draft local law, and FEAF Part 1 on the town website, to place a paper copy of the same on the town hall bulletin board, and to post notice of the public hearing, FEAF, and local law in the town online newsletter.
Okay. Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a question. It says regulating the chickens and bees in residential zoning districts.
Mhm.
Are we talking about specific residential zoning districts or
Mhm.
all of them? In that aspect, I'm just saying, obviously regulating means the amount, how large a flock,
Mm-hmm.
and how large the beehives are, I imagine, right?
Yeah, the proposed law is posted on the website,
Okay.
and I believe you have a copy in your packet.
Yes.
I would like to make one change. On May 24th, there's a conflict here with the court, and there are 5 Tuesdays in May, so I'd like to change that to May 31st,
When's Memorial Day?
the 30th. Okay, so with that amendment,
Hold on a minute. What day's the holiday?
Monday. Monday is the 30th, Tuesday is the 31st.
I mean, what day is the parade?
Yeah, I don't want to miss the parade. Okay,
This is the parade.
okay,
Okay,
so we're changing that.
so we're changing it.
31st.
So there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right, let's see. Back here. I skipped around a little bit, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Judy. We're gonna go back to, we didn't have any public comment and we closed the public hearing. resolution to adopt amendment to Chapter 210 of the Town Code relating to short-term rentals.
Oh. We need to, yeah.
No, please.
Resolution to adopt amendment to Chapter 210 of the Town Code relating to short-term rentals. Whereas a draft law to amend subsection 210-33B4 of the Code of the Town of Hurley relating to short-term rentals has been presented to the Town Board by the Zoning Task Force, and whereas the proposed law is required by Ulster County to allow the county to share their computer listing of all advertised short-term rentals in the Town of Hurley at no cost to the town, and to receive the periodic updates of their computer listing. And whereas a public hearing on the proposed local law was held on April 26, 2022, at which all members of the public who wished to speak were given the opportunity to be heard or submit written comments. And whereas on January 25th, 2022, the town board declared itself lead agency for the purposes of environmental review with respect to the proposed local law, in accordance with Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law and the regulations promulgated thereunder at 6 NYCRR 617, collectively Seeker, and determined that the proposed action met the criteria of an unlisted action under Seeker. And whereas the draft local law and Part 1 of the Environmental Assessment Form were circulated to the Town Building Department, the Town Planning Board, and the Ulster County Planning Board for a report and recommendation to the Town Board within 30 days. And whereas the Town Board has received a response of no impact, in quotes, from the Ulster County Planning Board and no response from other agencies to which the draft local law was distributed. And whereas the Town Board has considered all the potential environmental impacts of the proposed local law and has carefully reviewed the full environmental assessment form. Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved by the Town Board of the Town of Hurley, 1, the Town Board determines that the proposed local law will not have any potential adverse environmental impact, and that an environmental impact statement will not be prepared, and directs the supervisor to so indicate on the FEAF. And 2, the Town Code of the Town of Hurley is hereby amended by the enactment of the draft local law to amend subsection 210-33B4 of the Code of the Town of Hurley relating to short-term rentals. And 3, the town clerk is directed to distribute a copy of this resolution to the Town Building Department, the Town Conservation Advisory Council, the Town Planning Board, and the Ulster County Planning Board.
That's the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Moving right along this.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Mr. Bonds, would you be willing to read the resolution to enact Chapter 94 of the Town Code entitled Fill and Grading Law? If you don't have a copy, we'll get you one down there. Sorry, you must have gotten a mixed up packet.
Oh, I see, I got this.
You got it, yeah.
Okay, whereas a draft local law to enact new Chapter 94 of the Town of Hurley Code entitled Fill and Grading Law has been presented to the Town Board by the ZTF, and whereas the proposed local law is intended to improve the health and safety of our community by controlling the placement and content of fill, and whereas a public hearing on the proposed local law was opened on February 25th and continued on March 22nd and April 26th, at which all members of the public who wish to speak were given the opportunity to be heard or submit written comments. And whereas on January 25th, 2022, the Town Board declared itself lead agency for the purposes of environmental review with respect to the proposed local law in accordance with the Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law and the regulations promulgated thereunder at 6 NYCRR 617, known as Seeker, and determined that the proposed action met the criteria of a Type 1 action under Seeker, and whereas the local or the draft local law in Part 1 of the Environmental Assessment Form were circulated to the Town Planning Board Department and the Town Conservation Advisory Council, the Town Planning Board and the Ulster County Planning Board for a report and recommendation to the Town Board within 30 days, and whereas the Town Board has received a response of no impact from the Ulster County Planning Board, no response from the other agencies to which the draft local law was distributed, and whereas the Town Board has considered all of the potential environmental impacts of the proposed local law and has completed Part 2 of the full environmental assessment form, now therefore it is hereby resolved by the Town Board of the Town of Hurley, 1, the Town Board determines that the proposed local law will not have any potential adverse environmental impact, and that an environmental impact statement will not be prepared and directs the supervisor to indicate on Part 2 of the FEAF, and 2, the Town Code of the Town of Hurley is hereby amended by the enactment of the draft Chapter 94 entitled Fill and Grading Law, and 3, the Town Clerk is directed to distribute a copy of this resolution to the Town Building Department, the Town Conservation Advisory Council, the Town Planning Board, and the Ulster County Planning Board.
Thank you very much. That's the motion. Is there a second?
A second.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So noise.
Yes.
Okay.
You can, this one's good.
Yeah. Resolution to refer noise and lighting pollution to the zoning task force. Whereas the town of Hurley was asked by a resident to examine issues of noise and light pollution, and whereas the town recognizes that current laws are not sufficient to adequately curtail noise and light pollution, therefore be it resolved to refer these issues to the zoning task force to report back to the town board with recommended amendments to town code.
I'll second that.
Okay. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Humphries, next one's yours.
Okey dokey. Resolution to hire lawn companies for the 2022 season. Whereas the town of Hurley posted and published a request for proposals for lawn mowing and trimming at the beginning of each spring season. And whereas the town received 2 proposals for the mowing and string trimming properties owned by the town for $640 and $685 respectively. And whereas each bidder submitted an amended to their bid, as we removed the old library from the original bid and expanded the work scope to the inactive landfill to comply with standards outlined by Crawford and Associates in New York State DEC. Therefore, be it resolved to hire Ronald Gibbons, R&R Lawns, the lowest qualified bidder, to maintain the town properties to the standards described in the RFP.
That's the motion. Is there a second?
I second this motion.
Is there any discussion?
Is this person here, has he done it in the past also?
Yes. Many years.
All right, and have we been satisfied with his work?
Apparently so.
Okay.
Okay.
Sometimes he cuts the blades a little bit crooked.
No, he's third generation.
Okay. So there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Rick,
Any
you
opposed?
second that, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to apologize to the town board. You'll see an extra resolution in your packet that I forgot to add to the agenda.
Oh.
It's a resolution to appoint another person to the Scenic Byway Committee. She came in and asked, and that's typically how we roll. So be it resolved to appoint Ellen Mulcairn to the Scenic Byway Committee. Ellen lives over on Pleasant Ridge in West Hurley. So that's the motion. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Okay, these were a couple provided the responses to the RFPs that they issued for work done at the inactive landfill. And these resolutions are a result of those proposals. Town board will see that information in your packets. So the first one is a resolution to hire Frank Vosberg and Sons Incorporated to repair the leachate collection system. Whereas Crawford and Associates, engineers for the town of Hurley, posted a request for proposals for repairs to the leachate collection system. And whereas 3 bids were received by the engineers. And whereas, according to Crawford and Associates, the lowest qualified bid was from Frank Vosberg and Sons, Inc., 3 Madison Lane, Rhinebeck, New York, 12572. Now therefore be it resolved to hire Frank Vosberg and Sons, Inc., per the recommendation by the engineers contracted with the town of Hurley to repair the leachate collection system to the standards and within the time frame described in the RFP. And be it further resolved that the work shall be completed for $11,000 with a contingency of $1,100 to be funded out of Capital Fund 10H. That's the motion. Is there a second?
I second that.
Okay, any discussion?
Do we have the proposal from
Yeah,
Frank?
it's in your packet. There were 3 bids. He's the low bid.
I just have DJR and Wind River.
As I said earlier, there was a mix-up at the copy machine. This is the lowest bid. The second bid was $19,500, and the third bid was $95,000. So
And this bid is 11.
this is 11.
11 is less.
It's,
Oh, I have a question about this.
okay.
I believe that, I know we have to make this decision, but since Crawford and Associates have worked on this
This is
project,
their recommendation.
this is their recommendation,
Mhm.
this team?
Yes.
All right.
But their recommendation is based on the lowest bid.
They
Is it-
interviewed lowest qualified bid.
Yeah.
It's their specs, it's their recommendation. In fact, I can read you the letter that they sent us if you wish.
Lowest qualified bid.
Lowest qualified bid.
This is the letter.
Crawford and Associates reviewed the proposals submitted by the 3 contractors. The apparent low bidder is Frank Vosberg and Sons. Crawford and Associates contacted Frank Vosberg to confirm the contractor was comfortable with their proposal and the proposed project schedule, which they confirmed would not be an issue. Based on Crawford and Associates' review of the proposal submission, they recommend that the town award the work to Frank Vosberg and Sons as the lowest responsible bidder for an amount of $11,000. Crawford and Associates recommends that the town provide a contingency fund of $1,100 or 10% of the contract amount for any unforeseen expenses during the construction of the project. There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
They all had the same, they all were sent the same documents for
Yes.
the same work?
Yes. Yes.
Wow,
Okay.
Interesting.
yeah.
There's a motion and a second. Are we prepared to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next and last.
Who seconded that? Me?
Yes, please.
Last item on the agenda, for resolutions at least. Resolution to hire Osterhout Electric, Inc. to repair the electric monitoring system to return it to a fully automated system as required by New York State DEC. Whereas Crawford and Associates, engineers for the town of Hurley, posted a request for proposals for repairs to the electric monitoring system of the leachate collection system. Whereas 1 bid was received by the engineers. And whereas according to Crawford and Associates, the only qualified bid was from Osterhout Electric, Inc., 4300 Albany Post Road, Hyde Park, New York, 12538. Now therefore be it resolved to hire Osterhout Electric, Inc., per the recommendation by the engineers contracted with the town of Hurley to repair the electric monitoring system of the leachate collection system to the standards and within the time frame described in the RFP. And be it further resolved that the work shall be completed for $17,400 with a contingency of $1,740 to be funded out of Capital Fund 10H. That's the motion. Is there a second?
I second that motion.
Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I have the same kind of letter in supporting that resolution. Okay, we're on to council member updates. Anyone wish to speak on anything?
And we, you had a sort of a meeting with Pat Ryan about the water situation in Hurley, and also
There-
with Pulp. Have you, has that gone through at all?
There is a, I just got an email today that the county executive's office is meeting with the 3 supervisors that are from the towns where there's Hudson Valley Water Companies, along with the legislators, and that meeting will happen sometime later next week. So at this point, it's legislators and supervisors. I'll bring a report back to the town
Now
board.
you say there's 3 supervisors. I imagine the town
Yes.
of Olive is not
Right,
participating?
he's not participating. So it's Fred Costello and Saugerties and Jeannie Walsh and Rosendale. I'm still trying to get a meeting with the attorney for Pulp, so I'll let you know when that
Good.
happens.
One thing also, I just want to say, from the Climate Smart Task Force Committee, there was actually a presentation at the Ulster County Legislature yesterday by one of the members, or actually the intern, to the group, and the response that I heard from her was that Saugerties and Town of Olive want to hire her to do the exact same thing in their towns. So like Kristen and Lynn Bailey, great job. And you know, she's in my class, and she's just like, what it was, you 2 guys changed her whole life. Seriously.
Well, she was a pleasure. She's a pleasure to work with, really.
That's awesome.
Truly.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'd just like to add, just to piggyback on this water issue again, and just emphatically ask you to, at that meeting, to discuss the linkage between health issues and water quality. It's really, really important that we have these connections made very clear to those people who can make this decision. And as I'm learning more about this problem as it relates to not only immune systems, but things like cancer, we need to start looking at all the health implications in the areas that are most affected. I'll also close by saying that if this is happening in these towns, in these particular areas, I wonder what's happening in towns with less affluent people who have the means and the wherewithal to go before legislatures and meet with town boards and so on. So I really, really want this to be, you know, you voice it as strongly as possible on behalf of me.
I will, and I'll work with each of you separately on
Yeah.
that.
Well, stress to Pat Ryan and so forth, that this issue goes back 2009.
Actually, yes, most recently, but when you look back in the newspaper records, it goes back as far as literally 1972. There's newspaper articles asking the town of Hurley to take the system over because of the problems that have existed since then. And that was 50 years ago. So,
That's amazing.
yeah. Anyone else?
I would just bring up the idea of, again, working with the libraries now, it's been really pleasurable. And also the fire departments. Both of the fire departments been working with them. It's been amazing. And the more connection that we're getting, and the new parade, we're gonna have a parade, and everybody's really excited about that. And it's nice to see things come together.
It's a little less like, here's Hurley and here's West Hurley,
Mhm.
which is kind of nice.
Yes.
I like that. I'm seeing that a lot.
Well, that's all I have. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming.
They should go. They should be showing. They be like, hey, what's this?
So ambulance, but their water is pure.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming. Hey, hey Scruffy.
Formally meet John Perry.
Yeah. See you again.
This guy.
What are you? This is hippie. You come into hippie.
Down street. So.
Wait, I think you're going undercover. Hey, I talked to, well, I left him a message. He called me back again today. The guy for the Hurley, Hudson Valley, the softball. Yes. I called him when you told me to, and he never called me back. And he finally got back to me this week. And actually, right before the meeting, I called him again, but I got his voicemail. And I left him a message. He called me back, and I didn't. It's like right when the meeting started. He didn't answer it. But I'm thinking, you've been up there at all, looking at the fields?
About 2 months ago,